Hi, everyone. My name is Igor, and welcome to Agile and Beyond podcast. I'm independent Agile coach, and I can't be more excited than introducing today my guest, Konzi. He's a CTO in one company from South Africa called The Unlimited. And today we're going to talk about agility, AI, high performing teams, and what Konzi as a CTO believes that one team needs to have to be self-managing and high performing, especially in dynamic environments and market that is changing at the speed of the light. Konzi, welcome. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here, Iko.
Can you introduce yourself shortly to our audience and say a few words about yourself, your professional background, and where you're coming from?
Definitely. So my name is Konzi Hlophe. As Igor has said, I'm the CTO of The Unlimited. I'm actually from South Africa. So The Unlimited is a company that started in South Africa and has now gone global. I grew up in a rural KZN, so KwaZulu-Natal, one of the provinces in South Africa, and I studied engineering. So it was very interesting for me to move from engineering and building things towards IT, more conceptual, but building software. And, Agile has really played a big role in my life, I think, in getting it right. And I think this podcast, I'm hoping, will expose some of that learnings and actually provide some knowledge for other people to actually gain from.
Interesting. Konzi, was this your some kind of a dream when you went to college and when you studied? Did you had in mind at that time that you would be like CTO or you would work for a big company? Like, what was on your mind at that time? Like, what was your goal?
To be honest, it wasn't. To be honest, it wasn't. When I started my career, actually when I was in college, also in university, I wanted to be a developer.
Mm,
I've always wanted to be a developer. I think from primary school, I wanted to build things for people. I wanted to build robotics. I wanted to build software. I wanted to build video games. So very much wanting to build things, and I was hoping to be in a basement somewhere, and,
mm.
and alone in a
Interesting.
basement and coding things. So that was the dream, I think, when I started. But I have to say I don't regret my career. It really has been a fruitful career. I started which I didn't touch on before. I actually started in the mines. So
Nice.
I started building like machines for mining, mining automation, mining communication. Spent about 5 years, 5 years there, and then I moved into defense, where I worked on some really interesting military application systems, uh, which you're not allowed to talk about. And then I spent moved into aviation and spent 8 years there. So the 8 years I spent in aviation has been really great. Like
Mm.
civil aviation. How do aircraft know where they're going? How do pilots talk to the controllers? How do controllers know where the planes are? How do you separate the planes? So really, really amazing career, and I think yeah, just everything I've learned over the years in the different spaces that I've been in has just brought me into the unlimited with so much knowledge that I think the company has benefited from.
Interesting. So, what was your passion at that time, Konzi? You shared some pieces about your passion at that time, but what really drives you through your journey till this moment? Like, what was aha moment for you from where you've been, like the college time and where you are now? Like, when did you actually had that epiphany moment?
That's an interesting question. I would say like what I do is slightly different from, as I said, my dream was just to be in a basement. I think a very good one of my mentors a couple of years back, maybe about 13 years ago, said something interesting to me, because he actually asked me a question, and he said, you know, like, what do you want to do? He asked me, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know. I'm a developer. And it's like, well, here you can do whatever you want. I was doing everything, and he counted, he was doing physics, he was doing simulations, he was doing software development, he was doing electronic designs, and he was loving it. And I was like, and so I asked him, so why have you moved? Why have you moved from, doing these things to become a manager? And he said he got to a point when he realized that he can do more with people than he could do on his own.
Mm.
So I think for me, that was a big shift. I think I was about 4 years into my career, and I was still just wanted to be a specialist. But I think once I heard those words, I realized that actually I could work for years, and this was before AI. I think now with AI, people work a lot faster than us.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
back then, I could work for 5 years building one system, or I could work with teams and build 10 systems in the 5 years. So I think that was my aha moment, and that's when I realized that actually there's more out there than it's not about you delivering a solution. It's not about you building it. It's about you
Exactly.
contributing to the team and having a team build something, and share the thinking, share the building, share the responsibility,
Yeah,
and really you move fast. And I'll say something else. In Africa, we've got a saying that says, if you wanna go fast, go alone. If you wanna go far, take a team.
exactly. I like that. I like that. And it makes a lot of sense. That brings us to a question that I'm really really curious about, and I would really like to hear your perspective. Um, we both know that, and as you just said, if you want to go far, you need to have a strong team. Through your lens or from your perspective, what qualities or behaviors one team needs to have, or what would be like non-negotiable things from your perspective to build a self-managing and high-performing team?
Um, I don't want to sound like a textbook, so I won't. So I won't sound like a textbook. Because I mean, the obvious answer would be Scrum values. But I think just if, without just regurgitating a textbook, I think a team is trust. So that's one
Yeah,
of the core things that makes a high performance team. The teams I've worked with in my last 5 years or so of my career have been built on trust, and trust has pillars. In our business, we call them the pillars of trust, and
mm.
it includes things like competence. So everyone everyone knowing exactly what they're supposed to be doing and being good at that one thing, and they know that
Hmm.
what they bring into the team, they're good at it. That's one of them. It's participation. Another pillar of trust is participation. So everyone having that freedom to actually participate in the team. So whether it's delivering on something, on a piece of work, whether it's providing their thinking in a certain point or concept, whether it's team meetings, but you need the competence, you need the participation, you need sincerity, and that's also another one. It's a big pillar of trust, sincerity, because sincerity is it also builds a trust, which is it's almost like catch 22. But when you are sincere, I see you,
Yeah,
and I can be sincere, and we it makes me know that okay, I can trust Ego because Ego will be sincere and will tell me what he thinks. So
exactly.
definitely I find trust being core to building a high performing team.
I like that. I like that. And I would like to, just build on top of that what you just nicely explained, that strength based leadership, right? So if you have individuals that are good in communication, in planning, in strategy, you want to connect them and create a cross functional team.
Yeah.
So, really interesting point. Um, tell me more about you mentioned a really good thing, and that's basically trust. Trust is like, at least for me, is being vulnerable, with
Yes.
someone. So, expressing your weak points, expressing your strengths, and making sure that you build a self-managing and high performing team, which takes time. From your perspective, what do you think, how long on average it takes to build a high performing team?
It really depends on the individuals. So if the individuals have worked together before, I I think it's almost instantaneous. I
Mm-hmm.
think it really is instantaneous. And another important thing is trust is also quite a misused word in by
Yeah, I
people.
agree.
Trust is really it, it it works both ways. From me as a leader, trust is being vulnerable. It's showing people that they can be themselves. It's
Mm-hmm.
allowing people to be themselves. I think from the teams that I work with, trust actually allows them to know that they can be themselves. Our CEO at the Unlimited, Andrew Wood, he says something. He always says a saying that says, "Hire your weakness," and that's such a powerful saying. If we all are the same in a team, we don't complement each other, so that won't be a strong team. That won't be a
Exactly.
strong team. That will be, you know, uh, actually an amateur team because they've got a lot of blind spots. But when
Exactly.
they pass each other, when they become vulnerable, they're open to each other. People can say, okay, actually, I'm good in this, and we give you the work that you're good at, and he's good in that, and she's good in that, and we see, okay, actually, we're missing the communicator in the team. So
Exactly.
let's hire a communicator and put a communicator in the team so that we can close all the gaps. But all that comes from a level of trust. And how long it takes, Ego, I have to say, it's going to sound a bit controversial, but you decide when to trust someone. So I always decide from day one. I think you and I have been lucky enough to work on two
Exactly.
other teams, and you've seen it. Like I come into a new team and I say, this is the product, this is the vision, this is what we're trying to do, and immediately, I give my trust immediately at that meeting. At the first meeting, I say, okay, cool. So what do we have? We've got a developer, or a group of developers. What skills do we have? And I trust the people. If you say this is your skill, that's your skill. If you
Exactly.
say that's your skill,
You
that's your skill.
own that field. That
You own
it's
the skill.
yours.
Yes,
Exactly.
and then we iterate after that. So the iterations depend on organizations. I have to say the organization culture can impact. If Scrum is followed correctly, it's very fast. If Scrum
Definitely.
is not followed correctly, it can be a very troublesome or turbulent time.
In the same movie. And you started a really good, really interesting topic about the teams, about the organizational culture, and all of them being like just ingredients to build a self-managing and high-performing team nowadays. For you, Konzi, what is people-driven culture, or what does people-driven culture means for you? Like in one organization, we all know, and if we get back to basics and get back to Agile Manifesto, for example, they said, people and interactions over processes and tools. That will also bring us to some of my questions that I have for later on, like AI tools, and do they create like challenges, or do they create actually the efficiency that we can see worldwide? But for you as a C-level executioner, like what is that people-driven culture for you?
It's a very big question. I have to look at it from different sides. So the first thing, just coming from engineering and in my career growing, it's about quality. So if you
Hmm.
think about quality QMS, the QMS framework, it says that the customer is at the center. So for
Hmm.
me, immediately, whatever I'm doing, I'm not delivering a pen. I'm delivering what the pen is going to write. So I'm delivering
Hmm.
the message that pen will write. So the first part is that for me. It's always, what does the customer want, and how will the customer use this feature? So already, even before I get into the team, I'm already putting people first.
Hmm.
It's not about building a phone. It's about, what do people want to do? Do they
With
want
that
to
phone.
communicate? Do they want to go on the internet? Do they want to?
Yeah.
Is it that they want? Not the device, but what is it that they want? So it starts there. It starts with really getting close. And I think I might be jumping some steps ahead, but that's why product owners are such an important part of business, because those are the guys who really understand the strategy and the core and what the people actually want and translate that into the team. So I think it starts there. It starts there, and starts with the customer, into the product owner, and then we get into the team. So I think we already touched on it. Some of it is the team synergy. A well-functioning team, self-managing team, is better than a team that burns out. So you could have a team that's producing 100 story points a sprint, and then in 3 months' time you've lost half of that team, and you're trying to build a new team, or you could have a team that's producing 80 story points in a sprint, but these guys are around for 3 years. Who do you
Exactly.
who do you think will produce more results?
The answer is obvious. That
Is
the
it the
guys
team
with
that's changing
3 years
members every
long,
3 months
exactly.
because people are getting burnt out, they're leaving, the new people come in, they burn out, they're leaving? Or is the team that's been together for a year or 2 years or 3 years? So definitely people-driven culture for me, Igor, it really is about that. It's about how do we build a team that consistently delivers results,
Mm.
rather than a team where you are lucky when the results come. So they come sometimes they don't come. And definitely I think it starts with people. People are always at the core of a team. A team is made of people. It's not made of tools or
That
process.
basically that you just said, like people driven culture, you start with a end user in mind, like what is the problem statement, what is the problem that our customers are facing, and how we can solve that, how we can in the easiest possible way solve that problem for our customer. And as you said with the phone, like is it being on the internet, is it making a phone call, sending a message, taking a picture, whatever the case is, how do we solve it as a team? uh, Now when we are talking about agility, and you touch the points about product ownership and story points, which is a really interesting thing. And I'm not to be honest, I'm not huge fan of story points. They are one of the biggest enemies for me in the system, because as you said, you can deliver like 500 story points and solve zero problems, or you can deliver 10 and solve like huge problem that the
Yeah.
customer is facing. So, and they're not the measurement of any value. So if you rely or lean towards some silly number used by teams and Fibonacci sequence, like how do you make sure that juice is worth the squeeze?
Mm.
um, Really interesting topic. And we like to say that the best way to know what customer really wants is basically build something, measure that, learn from it, and do it again, and you know continuously iterate that process, like build, measure, learn, build, measure, learn, and constantly. So now, Konzi, when I get some information for you, and it's a really really interesting conversation between two of us. Tell me more about being a C-level executioner. With the great power comes great responsibility, as people like to say. I'm sure that you miss your good old days when you actually can, write the code, refactor the code, pay back some technical debt, fix bugs, all these lovely stuff that every developer likes, because they're like problem solvers. In other words, developers. Do you have time now to write the code or refactor that and do these
I
kind of things?
I have to say, it's a big shift. I've certainly played around with code, but I
Mm.
think if you take it from back before I became a C-level, C-suite executive, um, I would probably say I was probably spending about 60% of time, 60 to 70% of time writing code, or 60% probably, not 70. I think now probably 5% at most,
Jeez.
at most. And it really is the way I started when I spoke about winning through people. It really
Mhm.
is, because your responsibility when it comes to C-suite, and also I think product ownership really starts playing in that space, is you start getting clear on the strategy, and
Mhm.
you start managing not just the teams that are in your the teams that are in your space, but you're also managing the business, which is
Mhm.
which is very interesting. So you're managing. So I would manage, as an example, right now at the Unlimited, I do a lot of the AI projects.
Mhm.
So what I do is I manage a team that's delivering on AI products for the international market. But I also have to manage the business people that will use the AI and guide them. So I have to actually tell them so I play a dual role. Sometimes I actually say, no, that's not a good idea. Or no, we're not
Yeah.
going to do that. Because I'm now playing both. I'm now playing, part of a Scrum team that's delivering the value, but I'm also playing as part of the executive committee, which is making sure that the bottom line must make sense. You know,
Mhm.
the data-driven decision making must make sense. If you're saying you're asking for a pen, you must tell me who's going to use the pen. How do you know they want the pen?
Exactly.
How do you actually know that they want the pen? Like, show me the data, show me the questionnaire that you sent out. Show me the phone calls. Then I can actually. So the responsibility is a lot higher. You spend a lot more time in decision making rather than solution
Yeah.
producing. Yeah.
So you're more, and that's a really powerful sentence, like that data driven decision making, and we both know that as empiricism, which is
Yes.
the art of the possible. That's how I like to call that. So how do you know that what you're doing is the right thing? So building the right thing and building the thing right.
Yes.
So interesting. Now, you said that, okay, great, for a good culture you need to be people driven, you need to have a self-managing team. In order to build a self-managing team, you need to have trust. We talked about, strength-based leadership. I would rather have a guy who is like 10 out of 10 communicator than
Yes.
5 out of 10 communicator, 5 out of 10 facilitator, 5 out of 10 coach, and then you have like gaps in each area. I know that many people will not agree with that thinking, but that's okay. So every organization is different. They all have their own ideas, the philosophy behind the organization and the structure. So that's completely fine. Um, Tell me more, Konzi, about AI. You just mentioned that you're working on some AI projects. AI is definitely, for the last couple of months, maybe a year or even more, a hot topic in the world. So everyone's crazy about AI. When I go to LinkedIn, when I go to Reddit, when I go to X, it's all about AI. Some like pictures, videos, prompts, questions, CVs are AI completely driven. So what is one thing, or where do you see the world moving with this AI as a tool? So it's definitely a tool that makes your life easier. I'm
Yeah.
also using that and it helps a lot.
Yeah.
And where do you see us going? Like, is that going to be some kind of a threat for humanity? Is that going to just be as a tool that you use every single day, for example, to be more efficient or productive? What's your view on this, the whole AI thing now?
Yeah. I'm gonna sound like an old man here.
Please do.
I'm gonna sound like an old man. So I studied a long time ago. And when I was studying, it's amazing how a catchphrase can change how people think of something.
Mm-hmm.
When I was studying and when I started working, I'm sure even before my time, but when I started working as engineers, we knew the SCADA. So we had SCADA systems, and we would use SCADA systems and ladder systems to automate power plants, to automate traffic lights. We were automating a lot of things already back then, like in the early 2000s, or actually in the late 90s and early 2000s. And then suddenly, data-driven decision making was coined, and everyone went crazy. Said, "Oh, Power BI, Tableau,
Mm.
Click View," and but actually, as engineering, we've been doing that forever. Like if you walk into a power station, into a control room, there's screens everywhere, and it tells you
Yeah.
this
Oh.
pump is doing this, that pump is doing that, and this valve is doing this. So that was so it's just amazing how suddenly they call it big data, and then they call it business intelligence, and suddenly it's a catchphrase and it becomes popular. With AI, I think it's the same. I studied neural networks and support vector machines and some really mathematical things in uni. Back then there was the term AI. I mean, the course was called artificial intelligence, but it wasn't large language models. I mean, even when I
Yeah.
was masters, I wasn't using large language models. And I mean, I finished my master's in 2017, and large language models were not there. I actually did a speech to text translator, but I had to do it
Mhm.
in mathematics, not in large language models. But I think for me, the reason I started from that far back, Ego, is because I'm of the belief that the tools have always been there. I don't understand why people, sorry, I don't understand why people fear AI because we've been using it. It's been there. It's just that it was being used by what people coin the nerds, or the engineers,
Mm.
or but AI has always been there, and it's always been a tool, and it's always been making our lives easy, either by and I'll use the power station example again. Either automating a valve,
Mhm.
knowing which valve needs to close, automating a process, automating. What's happening now is that it's similar to the telephone. I mean, the telephone was very useful, and then you made it wireless and it became much more useful because now it's in your pocket. So the AI was in a big room in a control plant. Now it's sitting in your phone. So
Exactly.
I think that's an opportunity for people to actually. I think AI is there to make people's lives easy. I think AI is there to make your life much more efficient. I think it's gonna do so much more. I don't agree that it's gonna become, AGI yet, like artificial general intelligence.
Yeah.
Um, Even agentic AI, I've worked in the field a bit, and people will coin it and will claim it, but when you look at the solution, it's actually not that agentic, So I do believe that a human will always be in the loop. Like, I'll use a couple of examples. For example, if you look at a brand team,
Mhm.
obviously people in the who are in the marketing agency won't like me for this, but right now we've got tools that I can explain what I want, and the thing can give me a short video, or can give me,
Yeah.
and the image just needs a little bit of tweaking, and then I can just take it to my. So instead of writing a brief, sitting and writing a brief like we used to, I'd write a brief, and then we'll send it to some specialist, and the specialist will go away, come back after 2 months, and you've paid,
Yeah.
ten
Tons.
thousand ten
Yeah.
thousand euros. Now for 100 euros a month, you can get the basic one, and you can pay 1,000 euro because you've got the basic picture to give it to a graphic designer or a specialist to then
Exactly. To
put your.
tweak it,
So
change it.
as you can see, that what it does is the cost of doing business decreases a lot.
Mhm.
The time to market decreases a lot. So the downside is people who don't know what they want to do, because they will then struggle. But if you
Yeah.
know if you know what you're good at, like, if you take you for example, the Scrum Master, if you are excellent at what you do, and then I give you AI, that can only be better. You know,
Exactly. It will enhance the thinking.
it'll enhance the thinking. It will not be the other way around. So I'm definitely a proponent of AI. I'm even automation. I believe we need to automate as much as possible. We need to keep people in the thinking, in the creative space, in the
Yes.
communication, in building relationships, and that's where I think you can never replace. You'll never have an AI sitting in this podcast and reminiscing about when it was being trained.
Exactly. Or what suggestion you would give to some other leaders in other
Yes.
businesses, like how to incorporate these things. I really like that, and all this hump when it's on social media about AI, and copywriters struggling, are we going to lose our job? And as you said, like people from marketing creating a briefs, creating some visualizations and just tweaking them that will satisfy your needs. I see Personally, I see AI as a tool like calculator.
Exactly.
When calculator was made, no mathematician lose the job. So
Yes.
it just make their life easier. So they don't do it like path walking, or one step at a time. You can multiply big numbers, divide them, do whatever you need much faster.
I really like that analogy. I think it's the perfect analogy. You know,
Yeah,
when calculators came and computers came, mathematicians didn't lose their jobs.
exactly,
They just became
exactly.
faster.
They did their job more effectively, and as you said, improve that time to market, like responsiveness
Yes.
to customer, end user, or someone else. Um, cool, Konzi. Some closing thoughts, and I really like the chat. I could chat about like this for like hours, to be honest. Some closing thoughts. If you have the opportunity to give some advice or suggestion to some other organizations, like how they can incorporate or that AI as a tool and in their environment, and the synergy between agile and AI, what would you say? What advice you gave them and say, guys, this is potentially the future, and spend your time doing this or learning this? Or
Yeah, I think it's a good question and a good point to close the conversation. I think that I'll start with Agile because I think that's quite close to me. You know, playing in the technology space, I rub shoulders with a lot of C-suite executives.
Mhm.
I rub shoulders with a lot of product owners, scrum masters, developers from different organizations in South Africa. What I have found is, or the big differentiator between the team that I'm currently part of at the Unlimited
Mhm.
and the other organizations, that people don't understand what agile means. I'll actually, one of my friends or relative actually works for a big telecoms company,
Mhm.
and they were telling me that apparently at that company all the executives think that agile means speed, or agile means you can do whatever you want, so they're all just going directly into developers, creating tickets into scrum teams, and everything is just a mess because everyone's like, no, but you're agile, you can do both things at the same time. So people
Well, no.
people think context switching is agile. That's how people think about it. So I really want to start there, and say, as and going back to my African proverb, if you wanna go fast, do it alone. But if you wanna go far, you do it as a team. So teams need to be dedicated. So when you create a team, the team is dedicated, the team is focused. When the
Mhm.
team is focused, then the team actually uh, starts growing, starts maturing. And as they mature, they start taking actually the strain from you. Right now in that organization, as an example, no one knows no one knows what's delivered, no one knows what's not delivered. Everything is punitive. It's like, you didn't do this, you didn't do that.
Exactly.
Developers are sending work that's not, correct because they're chasing story points. Testers are not getting through their tests because they're trying to protect relationships, or they're trying to do so. There's no synergy, and there's no uh, deliberate shift of the way of work. So I would
Mm.
start there. I would say, as C-suite executives, we need to realize that we need to give customers what they want. So let's start there. We start with giving customers what they want, and to give customers what they want, we then focus teams. We then create the structures below us that will then deliver what the customer wants. Once we've built these structures, the final thing I would say is that your role as a leader or as an executive is then to remove impedance or to
Mhm.
improve efficiency of the team. And how do you do that? That's where the processes come in. So processes are important. It's not that they're not important. It's just that they're not the team. The team is a team.
Exactly.
The process is the process. So once the team is there, you start improving the process, start making sure the process is agile, start making sure the process doesn't impede the team. The team can deliver in the process. You start making sure that the process closes gaps, so it doesn't put the team at risk. So the team is not delivering work that's not tested, doesn't deliver work that's not.
Exactly.
So the definition of done becomes very important because you start working on the process definition of done, and you're protecting the team. So the team is protected, once the team is protected, they are confident to deliver more because they are confident to
Exactly.
go faster now because they know.
Morale goes up, inspiration
And
goes up. It reflects
exactly,
in value delivery.
and then one thing we've done well in this business also is automation, and that's where the AI comes in also is whenever we find parts of the process that are very important, but are
Hmm.
causing an impedance on the team or a restriction or a delay on the team. We try and see how can we automate those points so that we can protect the team so things are getting tested or are getting the processes are correct. At the same time, not putting extra load on the developers, and that's where the AI comes in. I think for me, I spoke to a lot of developers. Again, I think this talk will be very controversial, but
Hmm.
but I'm one person who believes in using AI developers, and AI developers do not take work from developers. Believe me, we spoke about this so much in our talk.
Exactly.
But it does mean that instead of taking a week to do something, the AI will do it in an
Two
hour,
days. Yeah, or even less.
hour, and then the developer can go through it, can check it, can optimize it because the developer has the intuition and the experience that the AI does.
Exactly.
So in 2 days, you could go from a week to 2 days because the AI would have done it in a couple of hours, and then the developer can just take a day to tweak, to change, to package,
Refactor, yeah, refine, whatever the
vector,
case is.
and then that product and then that feature is delivered in 20% of the time. So definitely in my books, I've sat with a lot of developers and a lot of executives and a lot of leaders, and they do speak down on the AI and 100%, and I believe in patterns. Like
Mm,
I'm a developer at heart. I believe in patterns. The AI might not get the pattern 100%, so the developer is there to make sure the pattern is correct, to make sure
exactly. Because the developer can actually see the whole landscape,
the
right?
whole
The horizon of things and how.
yes, but the developer does not have to write code. It's if you think about it, it's the same as data processors. I mean, there was a time when people used to go through spreadsheets. Now you've got
Cheese.
data process, like big data processors that are running data warehouses and running thousands and
Exactly.
thousands and thousands of data points. So for me, it's exactly the same thing. It's you used to have people spreadsheets. Now you've got a system doing it. You used to have developers developing for 3 months to get a feature. Now you've got an AI that can do it in 20% of the
Exactly. Exactly. Really interesting story, and through my lens, I see AI for some reason, and that makes it easy in my mind or in my head is like that AI is just a person I go to, ask any question, and get specific output. So I'm giving the input, that guy is processing that and giving me the desired output. That's
100%. I think if you think about it, I'm sure a lot of your viewers have done postgraduate studies in university and college. When you're doing your postgraduate studies in our days, not now, you used to go to the library. We in my days, we used to go to the library and you'd ask the librarian, I'm looking for this.
yeah, this book,
The
that
librarian
book,
will, okay, there's
this
a book like
script.
this, or there's this paper, or this journal, or and even when I started working, it was still like that. So for me, it's exactly that. It's the librarian didn't write paper for you. He just gave you the books. You just
Exactly.
and AI is the same. AI is the person that you're gonna ask. It's gonna find the information. It's gonna collate it. It's gonna analyze it. It's gonna tell you the information, and then you take it and you apply yourself to it and deliver using that information.
I really like that. So, in a nutshell, agile is a way of work, and AI is just a tool helping you to get with that way of work, to get something quickly to your end users and satisfy them. When I say something quickly, I don't want my audience to get me wrong. Agile is not about speed only. Agile is about satisfying end users' needs and adapting as soon as you learn something. So, to learn something, you need to do something, you need to deliver that to your end users. Some people might say release and validate your feedback. That's the learnings, and do something more. So incrementally or gradually do the work.
I
Um,
I like that. I think at the end of the day, it's about at the end of the day, it's about having your customer, delivering something to your customer that the customer can touch, customer can play.
Exactly.
And it might not be the final product, but as long as it's a useful increment, I think
Exactly.
that really
The
shifts.
two words that really that I like to tie or marry to the word increment is usable and valuable. So
Yes.
if your customer can't use that, like, what's the purpose? So what's the thing? If you can't use that, like, how do I know, is it working for me? How do I know, is it solving a problem for me? So that's the end. Konzi, this is a really great conversation. Thanks for being my guest. Thanks for joining me in this podcast, Agile and Beyond. I like to chat about not only Agile. Some people are really bored about Agile, Scrum. That's why I bring uh, people to my podcast to talk about beyond that, like C-level leadership, AI, other interesting topics, brand, marketing. So thanks for being part of this. You share some really interesting insights and where you see this thing with AI going and how we can, create a synergy between Agile and AI. And there's nothing to be, worried about when it comes to losing a job. Take that tool and enhance your way of thinking, make it better.
Yeah,
Cool.
I really enjoy myself. I think I hope one day there's a lot of topics I think we touched on just on surface level, and maybe in 6 months' time we'll dive deeper, or in 3 months' time we'll dive deeper onto those, because I really believe there's a number of learnings that are still out there. Just in closing, I'd like to say I read this on Instagram, so quoting from Instagram, but it said, "You're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to someone who's using AI."
Jeez, drop the mic.
That's
Drop
it.
the mic. Konzi, thank you so much. It was my pleasure. And yes, definitely in 3 to 6 months' time, I would like you to join me again. And we are going to unpack some other topics. So why not?
Great.
Thanks everyone for watching, and we see you in one of other episodes.
Cheers, everyone.